Welcome to the Kaala Evans Show. This platform is uniquely designed to educate and empower individuals of all walks of life as we converse with experts of various industries. These intellectual conversations are designed to inspire and uplift members of our culture and society, collectively gaining knowledge and information dedicated to our human experience. Let's get into it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kaala Evans Show. We are in for a special treat on today's episode. We are featuring our star expert, Miss Kaala Evans.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, Kara.
Hello.
Kara just so happens to be my sister. When I told y'all I had a lot of friends who were experts, I was talking about friends and family. But Kara is a hospitality industry expert. She is here today to discuss her career in the industry, what the industry even is, some tips for navigating this career path, and then she's going to talk a little bit about how you can immerse yourself in all that travel and hospitality and restaurant life has to offer. So, Kara, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank
Glad
you
to
for
be
being here. Being voluntold. No, I'm just kidding. She volunteered to be here this evening. So, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about what you're doing, some of your current projects. Let's start about talking about how you landed in the hospitality industry.
Okay, so thank you again for having me here. It's a pleasure. I think this is a topic that needs to be talked about more. Hospitality is kind of in everything that we do in one way or another. So it's good for people to be somewhat more informed about, I guess, the ins and outs of the industry.
What is the hospitality industry? Before you get too deep, what does hospitality even mean?
Hospitality can be described as more of the literal word, which is for lack of better words, inviting people into your home or hosting people in a way and showing them care and attention like you would your own family if they were at your house, right? The hospitality industry is the umbrella that covers hotels, restaurants, nightclubs. You could even get into spas and casinos, things like that. It can get pretty specific. So it's kind of the umbrella that encompasses anything that involves leisure, travel, food, and things of that nature. So I got into the hospitality industry because I had a great interest in food. I love to cook. I still love to cook. And
bomb chef.
Thank you.
Definitely the best in the family.
Oh, wow,
She's
compliment.
there. She's there.
Compliment.
She's there.
So that is how I gained my interest initially. I used to watch cooking shows on the Food Network. I used to cook at home. And I gleaned a lot of that interest also from my mom and my grandmother being in the kitchen at a young age. Kind of always being around food, from men's breakfasts to Sunday dinner, after church. So I think that's where it all stemmed from. And then from there, I was in a high school program. In that high school program, I was, we essentially ran a commercial kitchen. And in that moment, I realized that wasn't what I wanted to do.
This was in high school.
This is in high school.
Okay, that's a huge opportunity.
And so in high school, I'll name the high school, Mount Vernon High School. We had a great culinary program. I believe it was the first of its kind at the time. And it was extensive. And we essentially ran a cafe out of a commercial kitchen and gave you every type of experience that you could have asked for. And that's when I kind of realized I don't want to be a chef per se. So once I realized that, that's when I understood that hospitality was more of the umbrella, and that's the avenue that I decided to take. Because I realized that even if I wasn't going to become a chef, I could still be kind of immersed in that world in some form or fashion. So I started working when I was 21, because that's kind of the age where you can be around alcohol and serve alcohol and things like that in this state. So from there, I just started working and I started gaining experience.
Can you tell us a little bit about the positions that you held as you moved through the industry? You started at 21. Where did you start?
I started off as a hostess at a restaurant, which is a pretty entry level, basic job.
Okay.
Anybody can be a hostess if you have a personality, you can speak, and you have a little bit of intelligence. So if you're looking for a job right now and you don't know what to do, be a hostess. They're hiring right now. Somebody will hire you. So it's very basic. Anybody can do it. And from there, that was a great way to kind of work your way up. One thing about hospitality is there is no set track.
Okay.
You could be working as a hostess on Monday, and then somebody recognizes your great work ethic, and then maybe in 6 months' time, you've already been promoted one or two times,
wow.
maybe. It really is based upon work ethic and somebody kind of recognizing your talent or your hard work in the space. And that's exactly what happened to me. I excelled in my role as a hostess. I was promoted within, I would say, like maybe 9 months to the role of a maitre d' fromage, which is a very niche position that was very specific to the property that I was at the time.
What is a maitre d' fromage?
Fromage is a
Break it down
French word for cheese or cheesemonger. And maitre d' fromage essentially translates to that. So, or cheese expert, if you will.
Okay.
So I immersed myself. This is something I had never done before, but I immersed myself in the world of cheese as well as wine. And that comes from all different regions. I'm not going to get into that.
Okay. That's a different episode.
Nitty gritty. But that was an amazing experience in that that was something that I probably would have never done had I not worked there. And also it created an interest in wine, which was something that at 21, you're not really, you're not drinking wine. You're asking where the liquor at. So it was great to understand that on a deeper level. I took a few wine classes. We were offering wine and cheese pairing classes. So I had the opportunity to almost teach and educate as well as work within my role. So that was extremely rewarding.
At such a young age, or
at the
start of your career?
Yes. I met a lot of different people. The property that I was at, we used to host a variety of conferences. So I really used to meet people from all over the world. It was really, really cool.
So from there, from the maitre d' fromage, I'm working on my French.
Yeah.
From that point, where did you maneuver from there?
So after that time, I started work. I moved into management. From that moment, I moved into management, and I transitioned to a different company at the time, working in full-on management. That was my first management role. And from there, I kind of transferred to different management roles, but within different properties. Each of those roles kind of adding something different to my toolkit.
Were you still in the restaurant space, or were you maneuvering to a different space within the hospitality industry?
So I've stayed in restaurant spaces, but within hotels.
Okay.
So that provides a different level of structure and security. It's one thing to work for independent restaurant groups, such as this is just for an example, like a Outback or even like a Chili's or something like that, where it's just these entities. Those restaurants are actually part of restaurants groups too. But when you work within a hotel group, there's different benefits that you're going to acquire because of that, right? So not only am I working within the restaurant setting, but I'm also getting the benefits from working in hotels, such as travel benefits, travel discounts. Again, like I said, you're meeting different people from all over the world, different industries. You're not dealing with kind of the same demographics from week to week. Things are kind of ever changing. So it gives you a little bit more variety versus saying, I'm going to the same restaurant every day. It's in this neighborhood. I have this demographic. This is the clientele. Whereas when you're within hotels, you kind of get, it's just variety, and it kind of just creates a little bit more, it makes things more interesting.
So as you maneuvered into the hotel space, and this is kind of along the lines of what we wanted to maneuver forward to, and that talks more about immersing yourself as a patron within the hospitality industry overall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's restaurants, what we talked about, and then we talk about the hotel space. But say I'm a patron,
Mm-hmm.
how can I immerse myself within the hotel space of the industry? How has that changed according to, like, as I'm a patron now? How can I immerse myself into that particular space of the industry now?
As a guest who's coming.
Yes. Yes.
You have to go out. I think one thing is that people kind of like slack on is becoming a part of the rewards programs.
Oh.
So, for instance, I think probably one of the most popular ones is Marriott Bonvoy.
Yes.
There's Marriott.
I'm a member. Okay.
There's Marriotts everywhere. Okay. You can talk Hilton, you can talk Hyatt, but Marriott is going to have 3 hotels to the one that Hyatt has in whatever location you're in. And that's just facts. They also just did some type of merge with MGM. So now you have, as a Marriott Bonvoy member, you have access to MGM hotels. I think it might just be strictly in Vegas for those, like, you know, all the ones that are on the Vegas Strip, like the Park MGM and the Mandalay Bay and stuff like that. But a lot of these rewards programs are kind of merging, or they just offer a lot of perks to their members, especially if you're using the rewards. Another thing is a lot of these rewards programs are affiliating or connecting credit cards, right? So you're encouraging me to spend my money, and I'm also getting rewards. So,
and if you're a Starbucks drinker,
you
connect your Starbucks account to your Marriott account.
Free
and you get double the points both ways. Okay.
Look at that.
Go
Look
ahead.
at that.
I'm
so
sorry.
That's a great way to do it. Another great thing is literally going out to eat. Kind of just immersing yourself in whatever city you're in, talking to, you know, your local restaurant owners. If you go to a particular restaurant all the time, try to get to know the owner. Become a true if you're going to go there all the time, be a regular. You know what I mean? Just having those conversations and creating that connection goes really far with some of these small restaurants. And I would also say is that we often patronize a lot of companies that are already operating on a large scale, but absolutely put focus in your neighborhood spots too. Go to the coffee shop on the corner and go there every day. If you go get a cup of coffee, go there before you go to some of these large chains, because those are the companies that really add the meat and the potatoes into the hospitality industry. Obviously, these big tycoons, they really are, they're established, right? And these up and coming companies truly are offering sometimes a better product or a better experience, right? And they need all of the traction and all of the traffic they can get. So
what does that different experience look like as opposed to me going to a larger group, like say a Starbucks, and I'm going to not a regular, but I'm going to a small business in my particular area?
Yeah.
How would my experience differ between the two?
I would think that, well, hopefully, you know, depending on the business, if they truly care about cultivating those repeat customers, because that's how you really go the distance, I would say that the difference is most of the time, if you go there on a consistent basis, you're going to walk in and somebody's either going to know your name or know your order.
That's important.
And I walk in, maybe this time, they know I order 2 lattes. Maybe they added an extra shot for me for free, or they put an extra croissant in my bag, or, you know, the latest, they just dropped a new coffee on the menu. They're going to let me try it. Hey, Kara, try this. We know you like Ethiopian style coffee, whatever the case may be. But it just creates a more personal experience. And I don't care what anybody says. That makes you feel good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When I walk in and they're saying, oh, already knew you're coming at 8:30. Whew. But some of y'all go to your local large chain coffee shop and they know you by name. Okay. And they know you're coming at 8:42 because you got to be at work by 9. Right. But if you did that with Kaala on the corner, and then you built that relationship too, I think those, like I said, are are the ones that go the distance. Because how many times have you also been going to your large chain coffee shop and then next week it closes down and you're sad?
Ooh.
Because this location hasn't been as successful as the next one. So I think that's also something that you have to recognize. And another thing is, when it comes to small businesses there has to be a different extension of grace. I take issue with people who have the same level of expectation for a Krispy Kreme as they would their local donut shop. I'm sorry they ran out of your glaze today. They just baked 62 in the back by hand. Okay? Maybe they'll have it again tomorrow. But don't come in the donut shop with an attitude because we ran out of your glaze. Okay?
So let's talk about since we're already transitioning.
Okay.
All right, we're at the portion of the program now where we are going to give you tips and tricks, do's and don'ts as a patron within the hospitality industry. Kara's going to break it down for us. So, I am a patron. I am coming to a restaurant. I walk in the restaurant and there's not a lot of people there. There's a lot of open seats, but the hostess is telling me that there's a 20-minute wait. How is there a 20-minute wait when there's no one in here and there's open seating? What would cause me to have to wait for 20 minutes?
First and foremost, there are definitely times where you are on the move and you don't make a reservation, right? But in the age, it's 2024 and open tables on your phone. There's, what's the other one? Resi. Every restaurant Yelp. Every restaurant probably has some type of online reservation platform for you to make a reservation. So that's my first suggestion.
Okay.
Make a reservation. Even if you don't think that you're going to need it,
just in case.
Make a reservation. If you do make the reservation and you decide not to come, cancel the reservation. There's usually a nice button somewhere in that email that just scroll down, hit cancel, and good to go. Okay. Or you can call, right? But sometimes that's not always convenient. So there's always an option to cancel your reservation online. Secondly, because of the reservation you made, that is why there are no available seats, because we saved them for the reservation makers. Oh, so even though when you walked in the restaurant, there were seats available, maybe in the next 10 to 15 minutes, or maybe less, our dining room is going to fill up for all of those reservations that have already been made, right? A lot of people will say that when they walk into the restaurant and we have said we can't seat them right away, I'm just going to make a reservation online right now. That's fine, but the reservations have probably been blocked at that point in time. We've probably already shut down the reservations for the night or at that particular time block because we're within the time block. So making a reservation at that time wouldn't really make it any better. So my recommendation is to, number one, make a reservation. Just in this day and time, you never know. Restaurants are busy on Tuesday nights. Some restaurants are busy every night of the week. Based upon demand, based upon social media, restaurants go viral on TikTok. They were empty one week, next week they can't keep their reservations available. So that's the first recommendation, as well as just walking to the restaurant and being gracious and kind to the hostess. In those moments, even if there's something isn't available, if you're nice, they'll probably accommodate you more than they would if you have a rebuttal. Be kind. That's really just what it is.
Okay.
Just be kind.
Now, tipping. Let's talk about tipping. A lot of laws have changed in the past couple of years. How should I tip? What is this mandatory gratuity? Who gets the money? Do I tip on top of the gratuity? It's very convoluted and confusing.
It is.
Break it down for the people, please.
I'll break it down as best I can. It's just as confusing as it is for the consumer. It has become just as confusing for people who are working within the industry. There have been companies who have, I would say, convoluted it in a way and created maybe not the most positive stigma surrounding mandatory service charges and gratuity. Service charge is gratuity. Gratuity is service charge. People will try to say it's two different things. If it's on a check, whether it's 20, 15, usually these days it's between 15 and 25%. If it's on there, it's an additional charge that is meant to add towards. Let me see the best way I can say this. Most of the time, service charges are put into a pool, right? That pool is divided amongst everybody who may be working on shift that particular night or day. And then from there, it's also broken down into who's included into that pool.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily include the cooks and the kitchen, but it will absolutely include your servers, your bartenders, your bar backs, and your busters. So those are the people that bust your tables, the people who are behind the bar, not necessarily making your drinks, but supporting the bartender. Obviously, your server, that's the person who's coming to your table and taking care of you. And then your bartender is the person making those drinks. All of those people are incorporated into making your experience what it is. Sometimes that service charge is also the back of the house. Your cooks and your dishwashers are also included into that service charge. So when you think about all of those people, that's a lot of people. So that means by the time it's all divided, that particular person can walk away with a very small percentage or a very piece of that pie, right? You could literally think about it like a pie. And if you make 16 slices versus 8, your part becomes less and less.
Right. You said a term called back of the house. What does back of the house mean? And I'm assuming there's a front of the house. So what does that mean?
Yes. So back of the house includes your kitchen staff, your dishwashers, and your line. So your line cooks, your chefs, and your dishwashers. That's usually included in the back of the house. Please forgive me if I'm forgetting someone. Some restaurants include other people.
Okay.
Front of the house is your servers, bartenders, and everybody that you would see front facing.
Gotcha. Okay. So back to your point. If I see that there's a mandatory gratuity charge, let's say 25%, because I feel like that's what it is.
That's kind of standard.
DC.
Yeah.
Am I to tip on top of the gratuity? And if I do, who gets the money?
I think you should. Just because, like I said, everything is a personal choice. And each experience will determine, right, if the experience is positive or negative, how you feel about tipping or how you feel about the service charge. But ultimately, if you are trying to make a contribution to your server specifically, a financial contribution, then you have to tip on top of the service charge because that's the only way that they would get that money. If you do tip on top of the service charge, that money usually goes directly to the server.
Okay.
Usually. Sometimes, and that's why things are convoluted, and I think that's why people have different opinions because sometimes it's not always transparent about how the money is being divided.
It's not. When I see gratuity, I automatically think that is a automatic tip that goes to the server. But we have learned here today that is not true.
That is not.
That
goes
into the pool. So if you want to contribute to your server specifically, then you tip them on top of the gratuity. Am I correct?
That is correct. And the best way, truly, to tip is cash or a cash service. Cash App,
Zelle,
Venmo,
directly to the
Apple
server.
Pay, directly to that person. Because that way there's no other channels that can be interfering with that money.
Thank you for that clarity. So we've talked a little bit about the hotel industry. We've talked about the restaurant industry. But I want to move more into nightlife because that's where you are in your career now. So if you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing now, and then we can talk a little bit more about nightlife within the industry.
Right now I am operating in it's kind of a multi-purpose space. So nightlife, restaurant, and an event space, if you will. So nightlife is kind of a separate portion. I've been working in nightlife for about 2 years now. So this is something that was new to me. And nightlife is essentially almost a separate entity or a separate microcosm of the hospitality industry that I did not know about. I did not know that it was so vast, and there's so much that is very much invested in nightlife when it comes to how people spend money, what people expect, and kind of how everything's connected. So it's a very major part of DC and the DMV. People are willing to spend thousands of dollars on bottles and sections, and this industry is very much spearheaded by promoters, by parties, by promoter groups, and
Is that a trait of when we say DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area? Is that more so a trait of this particular area, or is that just nightlife?
I think it's nightlife in general. DC does have a very rich nightlife, if you will. You can kind of get a little bit of everything. You can go to different clubs and hear different DJs. DJs are very heavily regarded in DC. There's events where, this DJ is being highlighted, and I'm going to this event because I want to hear this DJ spin. Or I know when I go to this club, this DJ is playing, so that's why I'm going there, because I know me and my girls going to have a good time. And like I said, people want to be seen. This is a very show me, see me state. And people like to be outside, and people attach. I think there is a level of attachment to popularity and clout with who's kind of on the scene, if you will, when it comes to nightlife. But it's all a TV show and glitz and glamour, and we love it. But you know what I mean? There's like I said, it is a facet of hospitality.
How can people follow you and see what's coming up with your latest projects? We know you've done some things in the past with baking, but I know you're kind of taking a different turn now. So how can we follow you and see more about you online?
You can follow me on Instagram at Pearlonomics, PearLenomics, Pearlonomics on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn, Kaala Evans. That is where you can find me. I have some projects coming up, some collaborations coming up, what else? Whew, it's about to get exciting. So that's where you can follow me. You can also find me downtown DC. If you know me and you start following me on my handles, I can tell you where to find me specifically, so that you can see me in action, and maybe even show you around the city. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Kayla,
This
for
is
having me.
a new collaboration in this particular setting, and I'm sure we'll be collaborating again with you soon.
All right.
Thank you for joining us. Follow her, Pearlonomics, on Instagram, Kaala Evans on LinkedIn. You can follow me on LinkedIn as well, Kaala Evans, and on the Kaala Evans Show on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, family.
Thank you so much for joining me for another extraordinary conversation today on the Kaala Evans Show. I invite you to stay engaged with me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Please follow me at the Kaala Evans Show on all social media and podcast platforms. More love, more life, more blessings. Until we meet again.